Alright fellas, we're back in Pokemon Mask. That's a little bit zoomed in. We got ourselves Renegade Cynthia and Giratina's rerun here again. Second rerun. Yeah, so she's getting her EX roll, which is Strike, which is pretty helpful, honestly. And I like doing this overview specifically because I've got a soft spot for this character. Not Cynthia, well, I like Cynthia in general, but Renegade Cynthia specifically, because her debut rerun back in April, her first rerun, was pretty much what elevated my channel to start really taking off, because she released, then Adam and Irida released. Those were some of my best performing videos from the time I started my channel, outside of like a few hit videos. But after that, consistent viewership really started going up after I released the rerun video for this character, so I really appreciate that from both her, I guess, being, I don't know, bringing viewership, and obviously, you know, everybody who's still watching me today, which is very nice. But yeah, this is going to be talking about her rerun. She's going to be the rerun for Masters Day, right? Arriving again on March 25th, and then leaving on basically April 25th, but April 24th, effectively. So yeah. Let's go ahead and, I guess, look at her abilities again. So, obviously, this character is strong. Relatively strong, right? But she's not really crazy anymore. Back when she released, obviously zones were new, the meta was different, the top tier characters were different, and Cynthia was good. She was great, she was strong, whatever. But nowadays, I'd say she has not aged very gracefully. But the EX roll has definitely helped her a lot. So, looking at her moves, she's got Shadow Ball and Shadow Force. These moves already are a big problem. Shadow Force is not good. It's a 2-turn move, effectively 110 power because of the fact it takes multiple turns. She doesn't have any sync countdown to manage Shadow Force losing sync countdown. So, this is obviously just not really worth using, other than a few scenarios. Shadow Ball, which is her consistent form of DPS. It's 108 power, which is not great, and she doesn't have any multipliers for it either, so that's also not great. She's got her training move, which raises her attack and special attack by 4, crit by 3, and lowers her defenses by 1. That debuff is annoying and not really necessary, but I mean, it's not that bad. It's not a big thing to deal with, but obviously very good self-sufficiency for sure. And then Ghost Wish. Ghost Wish is the biggest thing for her. She is our only Ghost Wish user. One of 3, basically 2 Ghost Zone setters, between her, Victor, and the 1% chance of landing it from a Special Custom Lily's trainer move. Not consistent, I wouldn't consider it. So between her and Victor, right? Obviously Victor is free, time limited, but still free. But still, I would say Cynthia's better. I mean, even without the EX roll and without a grid, I'd say Cynthia's probably better than Victor. Maybe, without a grid, or just a 1 out of 5 grid, I don't know. Either way, whatever, doesn't matter too much. Going to her passive skill, she's got the Sinnoh Flag Bearer. This is annoying because she overlaps with Aura Cynthia, so you can't run them together for synergistic or double Master Passive. You can run it and still get one of the Master Passes activated, right? But it's a little bit annoying, and Flag Bearer is obviously not the biggest boost, but it's something, right? Up to 30% power buff for all damage, and up to 26% overall damage reduction. Pretty nice. She's got Sundering 9, which has a 100% chance of lowering enemy defense or special defense, or both, by 1 stat rank when the user's move targeting an opponent is successful. So Shadow Ball and Shadow Force both have the ability to debuff defense, special defense, or both defensive stats, which is good. She's got Invigorating Shadow 2, which charges gauge by 2 when she takes on a Shadow Presence. This is when you use Shadow Force. It's effectively just gauge management. Not really that great. And then Super Shadow, applying super effective next to the user when taking on a Shadow Presence. This also just makes your Shadow Force have a super effective next attached to it. That's really it. You can't make full use of that super effective next because it's not going to apply to her sync move or her other DPS option in Shadow Ball. It's only going to apply to Shadow Force because it's a 2-turn move. She goes, takes a Shadow Presence, gets the super effective next, then uses the Shadow Force and uses up the super effective next. Or, right, if there's like, you face an enemy that's a different type than Ghost, or a different weakness than Ghost, and then the enemy faints, and then the next enemy is weak to Ghost, then that could work, but there's not a lot of situations where that is, for 1, available, and for 2, not really that meta-relevant, so that's kind of the way I'm talking about that there. And I did skip over it, but at 6-star EX, her stats are pretty good. 474 special attack's really good, 420 attack's good, 709 HP's solid, 220 effectively in both defenses. Do consider she lowers her defenses by 1, so that's a little bit of a problem. Does lower them quite a bit. And then through 79 speed's not too bad either. With the Striker EX roll, she gets 40, I think, in offenses, right? So she gets 460 attack and 514 special attack. 514 special attack, which is really, really strong. So good EX roll. Big thing is that her Sync Nuke is physical, because it's Shadow Force, right? The attack power is increased when there's a Ghost Zone, not hard to activate, but it's also not that great of a multiplier. 330 power, I think, because, yeah, Strike doesn't add anything to it. So you got 330 power from the Tech EX, right, which is great. 330 power is not too bad, but it's physical. The big thing with this being physical is the fact that she uses Shadow Ball as a main form of DPS, and then Shadow Force as a nuke. So you've got special DPS and physical nuke, which, if you're going to be doing DPS, consistent DPS and nuking with her, that's going to be a bit of a problem, because you're going to be trying to focus on nuking with her for good damage and doing DPS, which means you can't pick up either damage reduction parameters, which is a little bit annoying for Stadium, right? And obviously, if you're trying to hit enemies that are like Sentry Entry or Wise Entry or something, she does have options available to counteract both, but also, you know, if you want to do consistent DPS and nuke together, then you're going to be having a bit of a problem. But of course, Shadow Force does exist to kind of take out that issue, I guess, but it's Shadow Force. It's not really that strong to begin with. Big thing with this is I probably would not invest the EX roll at a 1 out of 5 Cynthia, and I would not say a 1 out of 5 Cynthia is exactly worth going for. If you're going to go for Cynthia, I would only do it if you plan to actually grid her, because outside of Ghost Zone, her abilities are not that impressive. Shadow Ball DPS is low despite having 474 special attack at 6-star EX, right? Shadow Force, I mean, is fine if you're doing super effective damage. If you're doing super effective damage with Cynthia, then you're fine. Shadow Force is going to be really strong. Her nuke's going to be pretty strong. Shadow Ball's going to be doing decent as well. It's not that bad. But if you're trying to do, for example, off-typing, that's what I'm considering here, is because, like, she's going to obliterate Ghost Weak stages without issue. She's been good for that ever since release. And especially with the Strike EX roll now making her Saint Nuke AoE, that's even more of a factor. But if we're thinking like off-type, then Cynthia's not really going to be doing super amazing, because she doesn't have any multipliers. Her move DPS or move power is pretty low. Or in Shadow Force, Shadow Force's case, it's very gimmicky, right? So that's not great. I would not recommend going for her just to be 1 out of 5. I'd only recommend going for her if you plan to at least 3 out of 5 her, because she kind of does need it for off-typing. On-typing, again, she's going to be fine, right? So I wouldn't even look at 2 out of 5, man, honestly. Super duper effective 2, Shadow Ball super duper effective 1. I mean, sure, you're getting super effective multipliers for Shadow Ball and Shadow Force. It's not really that necessary, because she's going to clear those stages pretty much without much issue, assuming you also pair her up with another ghost character, right? Especially Irida. Irida release does help Cynthia quite a bit, because they are both Sinnoh. Irida does great damage. They're pretty synergistic with each other, which is great. But I mean, still, I don't think she's going to need the 2 out of 5 grid. It's not that great. I guess Sync Stat Reboot to get rid of the defense debuffs, but that's still more gimmicky than anything. 3 out of 5 is where she gets everything. Shadow Ball on roll 2, Smarty Pants, Brain Sync, Sync Nodes, and Ghost Wish NPR. That's the biggest things that she gets. Most of this other stuff is not really that fantastic. I mean, Ghost Wish Group Pep Talk, raising attack of all allies at a 50% chance. That's not fantastic. It's something. You're only really picking this up so you can get Ghost Wish NPR. That's pretty much it. Which isn't even necessary, realistically speaking. You don't have to do it. You could just go for something like that if you really wanted to. Shadow Ball on a roll 2, 60% chance that you have a special defense on top of having Sundering 9 is very, very good. Double special defense debuffing ability, not consistent, but still not bad. And then Smarty Pants 4, more nuking power whenever enemy special defense is lowered. That's very strong. That is very good for sure for a nuking multiplier. And of course, Brain Sync 5, it's just whenever your special attack is raised, it's a 50% power buff, which is awesome. Getting all that stuff is not too bad, not too difficult. Okay, I lied. It is a little bit difficult. If you do want to give Cynthia the extra grid energy, she can benefit from it, right? This is definitely not bad for sure. This allows you to get the full nuke. It allows you to get Shadow Ball on a roll. That is helpful. That is definitely helpful for sure. Obviously, you could opt to sacrifice that instead and get Ghost Wish NPR if you really wanted to. It's not a bad idea, but really that's just fully up to you. Or, of course, you could just sacrifice the Sync Node, which I probably wouldn't do either, because I think Cynthia needs all the power she can get. So, realistically speaking, I would probably pick up a grid like this. Like this. There you go, for 4 energy. May as well. There are problems with this grid, though. Smarty Pants is not too difficult to activate, special defense debuffs, whatever. Brain Sync's not hard to activate, Ghost Zone's not hard to activate, so that's not a problem. You've got 200% in total multipliers, that's not hard to activate, off of a 330, well, effectively 380 base power Sync nuke, not too shabby. Problem is that her nuke is physical, and all of her multipliers are special related. Debuffing special defense is not a problem because she can do it. Buffing her special attack's not a problem either, right? Not a big issue. But it's more so the fact that she wants special defensive debuffs on a physical Sync nuke, where it would have just been better to put Relentless. I mean, yeah, sure, she would lack self-sufficiency at that point, but then you would also have a more justifiable reason to debuff enemy physical defense, in my opinion. But that's whatever, I guess. She does have Sundering, so she can debuff physical defense on her own anyway, if not just a little bit, so that's not too bad. And, of course, Sinnoh does have better special defense debuffing options than it does physical debuffing options, I think, anyway. I guess there's Ray and Adamant, right? I could be talking about my ass for that one, but I mean, there is Palatine's Dawn, there's Lucian, there's Irida. Irida does have overlapping zones, so keep that in mind. There's Special Costume Irida, who I don't think, yeah, she's got Mind Boggler, right? So that is also available to you, and not a bad option either. That combo is insane. Renegade Cynthia and Irida can synergize pretty well because Irida's special defense debuffing ability, right, and her DPS is amazing. You can use Irida for DPS and Cynthia for nuking. That's very viable, especially after Renegade Cynthia's EX roll, so that's not too bad of an option. But yeah, I would say without the EX roll, obviously Cynthia was not that fantastic. I mean, she got a single target nuke, which the multipliers weren't bad, but they were relatively low compared to what most modern techs get. Her DPS option compared to her nuking option, obviously being physical and special, Shadow Ball, no multipliers on it at all other than super effective related, which, again, she destroys super effective stages anyway. It's not a problem. That wasn't the problem. It's just that now Shadow Ball still has no DPS options, or DPS multipliers, same with Shadow Force, and Shadow Force has its own set of problems, and it's really only her nuke that was solid, and her ability to set Ghost Zone, right? But now she's got the Strike EX roll, which I'm not going to say she's like the best abuser of the Striker EX roll, like I'd have to look at all the options. When it comes to who benefits the most from it, I think that she's up there for sure. Like, it definitely takes her to a better level, but I'm not going to say she's like the best character to invest in it. Because, I mean, like, Dolly is a good investment, Gita's a pretty solid investment, Mixed Red's a good investment, you could say Ray's a good investment, right? Probably Roxanne, Fall Roxanne too. Variety Giovanni's a pretty good one as well. But, like, for Cynthia's case specifically, making her nuke AoE is very good for shorter battles like Stadium or the Battle Rally or anything that's not really an ultimate battle. She'll probably do good, I'll say great even, against a Ghost Week ultimate battle, though, whenever that happens. So, that's cool. But big thing being, she's now got the AoE nuke. The AoE nuke is a massive help to her because previously one of her biggest struggles was being able to take out sides or handle sides. But now you can pair her up with someone like Lucian, Palatine's Dawn, Special Custom Irida, whoever it may be that can help activate her multipliers and also potentially provide stable side DPS, but mostly activating her multipliers. She can now not worry about the sides because she can nuke them into oblivion with her tech nuke that is now AoE, and then focus damage on the middle to probably get to another nuke. So now, when it comes to off-typing Stadium, Cynthia is at the very least far more consistent at being able to deal with it, because now she does not have to worry about where she is trying to nuke, where she is trying to manage her DPS, and whatnot, right? Because especially now, because there's also a lot more special defensive debuffers, especially in relation to Sinnoh, so you don't have to deal with having special defense debuffing as a problem anymore, because back when she released, special defense debuffing was still a pretty rare ability. Like Palatine's Dawn was our best special defense debuffer, and of course she was limited, right? But now we have options like Lucian, who are effectively free and still really strong. So that's very, very nice. Definitely a good upgrade, indirect upgrade, so to speak. So when it comes to that now, I think Cynthia does upgrade a lot, but there is still the problem. Her DPS is not good in either fashion. Ghost Zone NPR, you could go for that. That does cost a lot of energy though, so keep that in mind. That is a lot of energy to pick up for one character. Well, -4, it's not too bad, but you get it. You get it, I guess. But yeah, you could deal with the Ghost Zone, right? You need to set that back up. That's one of her smaller problems, is the fact that like she has to swap between going for DPS and setting Ghost Zone. But really, that's not that massive of an issue because her DPS already didn't do great, so it just made her pretty bad DPS even worse, which you can see that as a bad thing for sure. But honestly, I don't think it's all that bad, just because again her DPS already was not fantastic, so you're not really missing out on much, so to speak. But yeah, she's got good self-sufficiency, pretty bad DPS, even after the Strike EX roll. I mean, 500 base power Shadow Balls are probably going to do something. It would have just been better if she had like Brain Teaser or something that can actually make Shadow Ball do damage, or even like I wouldn't be mad at Hit the Gas 5, right? Like just powering up Shadow Ball directly. I wouldn't mind her gauge being up to 4 at that point, even with that, but whatever, doesn't matter too much. The Striker EX roll, just being the biggest new thing here, right, is probably her best buff, for sure. Best buff she could have received, because Striker is definitely something that was helpful. I personally thought it was the best EX roll for her, because, it, again, as I said, it now allows her to handle sides, which, of course, she does have partners now to handle those sides, like, again, Special Custom Irida for that. People thought maybe Field would be better, which Field would have been good. It would have definitely been the second best EX roll option, I think. Yeah, I'd say Field would have been the second best option. But I personally just like that we have Strike EX roll now to make her new AoE. Because I don't think her having to set Ghost Zone is that big of a problem, especially because, again, Shadow Ball not doing that much damage anyway. It would definitely be, she'd definitely be benefited a lot, though, by a Ghost Zone support. And a Ghost rebuff support. Like, let's just go crazy, right? Let's get Volo in here for the anniversary, right? With a very strong, like, Striker, maybe even Field Giratina with Ghost Zone or something. Doesn't even have to have Ghost Zone. He can just be a strong striker, synergize with her, and then give us like Hisuian Typhlosion as a support with Ghost Zone and Ghost rebuff. That'd be insane, and would be good, because Ghost, even despite like Renegade Cynthia's EX roll and the release of Irida, I still say that Ghost is kind of struggling in options, because like outside of them, the other options are not all that fantastic. They're fine, but they're not like fantastic, right? Irida's still easily the best Ghost character in the game, and Renegade Cynthia definitely got an upgrade now, but I'm not going to say that Renegade Cynthia is amazing, or god tier now or anything. I'd say that it's a good buff for those who may want to use Renegade Cynthia now, is that this EX roll definitely does help her be a lot stronger and a lot more consistent, which is a good thing. So yeah, and again, she'll probably be able to clear any Ghost Week Ultimate battle with little issue, assuming like the stupid gimmicks are not tailor-made to go against her or anything like that, right? So yeah, overall, that's my thoughts about Renegade Cynthia. I will be showcasing her with the EX roll tomorrow at some point. I don't know when, because I have class, so that's fun. But yeah, I'll see you all later. Hope you all enjoyed. Good luck if you're summoning for Renegade Cynthia. Good luck if you're going to be giving her the EX roll. And I'll see you all later.